Hello and welcome to day 19 of the Halloween Craft Countdown, where I'm showing you how to make a different Cricut paper craft project with a spooky theme every day for 20 days. We're almost at the end of the countdown now, and we've gone back to my favourite layered paper craft projects. And this one is nice because it's not very many pieces, but because of the intricate details on some of the layers, it still looks absolutely gorgeous. We've got a witch flying in some spooky orange clouds, and she's surrounded by lots of different bats. Let's find out where to get the file and how to make this project. The files for this project are free for the next 24 hours. Here's how to download them. Register a free ticket for the Halloween Craft Countdown at craftwithsarah.com/HCC24. After registering, you'll get an email which contains a link to the schedule page for the countdown. Visit the schedule page to find and download today's files. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you've missed some, check out the Instant Access Bundle at craftwithsarah.com/HCC24 bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all of the files from the Halloween Craft Countdown, plus loads of extra bonus designs. The download comes in a zip folder. You will need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into Cricut Design Space. Here's how the Flying Witch design loads into Cricut Design Space. If you're not sure how to get SVG files into Design Space, visit the schedule page for the Halloween Craft Countdown and check out the Foundation Learning section near the top of the page, and there's a link to a separate tutorial in there on how to upload your SVG files. This file comes in at a size that is great to cut. It's 7.5 inches wide, but of course you can resize it if you want to. If you're going to be framing this, there's another tutorial in that Foundation Learning section on how to get the perfect fit in your frame every time. There are also other ways to display your project in that section too, so have a little look if you haven't already, as you might be able to get some ideas in there. I'm going to cut this design from normal coloured cardstock, but I think it would also look beautiful if the clouds were done from maybe 2 shades of gold, and then you use 2 shades of silver for the moon behind, and perhaps even a kind of pearly black and purple too. You could end up with something really, really shiny and gorgeous. To resize the design, make sure the padlock icon at the top of the width and the height box is closed. If it's open, then you can click it to close it, and that means you can resize either the width or the height by typing in a number, press enter on your keyboard, and the other measurement will change so that everything stays looking in proportion. I'll do mine at that original size, so I'm going to go ahead and click make, and this will separate out all the colours. You can change the paper size in the drop down here, and you will need to do that for every single colour. When you're happy with how everything's looking, press continue to connect to your Cricut, and then follow the on-screen instructions to get everything cut out from cardstock. Here are all the layers of my witch cut out, and I've laid them one on top of the other to check that I'm happy with all the colours and that I haven't lost any of the little pieces. I'll be sticking this together with a combination of glue and foam squares. The glue I'm using is Barely Art glue, but I also like Kalal. Both of these glues are nice because they don't bend or wrinkle the cardstock like some glues can do. And then for my foam squares, I've got these ones from the brand Dot and Dab, but again, any will do. Just if yours are larger, you might need to cut them smaller with a pair of scissors. We need to start at the bottom and work upwards. So I'm going to carefully move all these bats apart, and then take these layers away until I've just got my bottom 2. The mandala layer will be glued on, which is good because it's very narrow in places. Line it up with the layer underneath. You notice I've got just a little bit showing here. That's because I accidentally tore my white paper when I was taking it off the Cricut mat, but you won't notice in the end because it'll get covered up by one of the bats. So I wasn't going to recut it all. The next piece we've got is the solid layer of the clouds, which looks like this. And this will be a foam square layer, so turn it upside down and bring in your foam squares. Now for this one, we want to try and get the foam in all the little sticky out pieces. Just make sure that you don't put any over any of the edges, otherwise you'll be able to see the foam on the final design, and we don't want that. As well as going into all the bits on the outside, you also want to put a good amount in the middle of any large areas of card to give it a nice, stable, level backing to it so that it will sit perfectly flat. If you just put your foam squares around the outside and didn't have any in the middle bits, then you'll probably find that your card kind of tries to go downwards in some places, whereas we want it to be a nice, consistent, level 3D effect. Now I've got all the foam squares on, I can peel the tops off to reveal the stickiness underneath. Bring the bottom pieces back in, and then we're going to line this up and gently drop it down. And that way, if you weren't quite happy with the positioning, it won't have stuck yet, so you could pick it up and move it without damaging anything. So then I can push down to stick. I also ripped my card here, so this bit should be showing in orange. I didn't have much luck with this one. But it was totally my fault. I was trying to rush, so I was just pulling things off the Cricut mat and not paying attention. The next layer is this one, which will be glued. That is kind of the nice thing about these layered designs though, is that if you do tear a little bit of card, as long as it's somewhere that is going to be covered up by the next piece or another piece, then it doesn't actually matter. So that's nice. It's definitely a little bit of a challenge getting the glue around these tiny parts. I've got to try and stick it on now. And lie it on gently, and then I'll push down just ever so carefully to make sure it will stick, but I don't want that glue to smush out on any of the orange, so I'm just being really careful. It does dry clear, so if it does come out, it's fine, but just looks a little bit neater if it doesn't. There we go. Okay, nearly there. This is not many layers to this one. We've got our witch next, and she will be foam squared on. Line her up against the silhouette on the yellow. Gently drop down, and then if you're happy, push down to stick. Just the 4 little bats to go, and I think I'm going to need to cut my foam squares smaller because these are fairly narrow spaces. Foam squares are easy to cut, you can just go down them with your scissors to cut them into pieces. And I think this is going to be easier to put the foam squares directly onto the bat shapes on the design. You can do it whichever way around you like, but as they are quite small, I think doing it this way will be easier. It's 4 different bats in total, so I'm going to put my foam squares on all of them before I stick them on. If you are doing it this way, just make sure that your foam squares will be fully covered by the bats, so don't accidentally go out into any of the other sections. Right, now I can line these bats up. Each one is a different shape, so make sure you put them on the correct places. Here's 1, 2, 3, and last but not least, number 4. So there we go, our Flying Witch Halloween layered paper craft project is all finished, and this will be ready to go in your shadow box or on a greetings card or wherever you want to display it. If you're looking for an easy way to display it that doesn't require having to buy a frame, then check out the schedule page for the Halloween Craft Countdown and look in the Foundation Learning section at the top. There's a link to a separate tutorial in there on where you can find hook and stands for your cards. These are really simple to make and means you can either add a little hook so that you could put this on a nail or a pin in the wall, or a triangle stand, a bit like the back of a photo frame, so that you can stand the design up on its own without the need for a frame. But for now, here's our lovely witch all finished, and I hope you've enjoyed this project. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you tomorrow for day 20 of the Halloween Craft Countdown, the final day already. They always seem to go so quickly. I can't believe it's already the last day tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!